Elliott, Elliott Donnelley had something to add on the financial product, if you could do that as well.
Yes, hi. Is it possible to activate the laptop? Okay, I don't know if we can see.
Farzan, can we get them to switch my computer on?
So I think most of you who've been to the meeting in Dubai or the other meetings before this have known the story. I'll try to tell it very shortly, but it was really as a result of Raza Jafar's invitation to the convening in Pakistan on basically on the efforts to end slavery that I came up with the idea to basically launch a financial product, the first ever financial product committed to ending modern day slavery. This is a project was really born out of the GSN. I mean, if we can basically offer this as an example of something that would never have happened had the GSN not existed. And we're still very much in the early stages of this, but it was after that meeting in Pakistan and Lahore, and then subsequently the meeting last year at the Vatican, that I began to think, how can I leverage my relational capital, my intellectual capital, my financial capital to really support this movement, and what could I do practically to actually make something happen? And it was from that I began a series of discussions with a series of friends, one of whom was at Humanity United. And Humanity United is one of the foundations that has been funded by Pam Amidyar, Pierre Amidyar's wife. Pierre Amidyar, as you know, is the founder of eBay. And they have several different foundations, but his wife's foundation is really focused on human rights. And one of their key initiatives is really how do they address this issue of modern day slavery. I had relations there, and I went to one of the directors there and began to talk to them about this idea. And I connected their work, and they've been funding with multiple hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, a series of work on creating a benchmark where you could rank in the food and beverage, the apparel space, and the technology space, each publicly traded companies, their scorecard on how well they've been complying with disclosure laws. And this is a benchmark that a foundation started. It was a great way to create information and help to start to rank companies. And I think when you start to what gets measured gets managed, and I think that was an endeavor that they began. I began to think, how could I connect that work with the work of another company that I had invested in and was an advisor to, called Ethic. Ethic, some of whom you know, is a company that's dedicated to basically taking publicly traded information, publicly traded portfolios, and helping in real time to start to understand what how toxic each portfolio is. And so they've created a technology platform in Silicon Valley that's allowing investors to start to understand, if you're an investor in the Russell 3000 index, what percentage of your investment in a $10,000 investment portfolio is being attributed to different types of activities that might go against your values. So they're building a really incredible platform, and what we've decided to do together between Humanity United, Ethic, and basically the GSM and GSN members is to create a financial product based upon the Know the Chain benchmark. And the Know the Chain benchmark, again, in different sectors, in the information technology sector, the food and beverage and apparel footwear, they've developed rankings of company. And what we see here on the screen is really their ranking of the top technology companies. And within each one, they have basically tried to assign a score, the highest being 72, which is HP, all the way down. And when you start to rank these companies, with each of them, they take various measurements. So if you can look here, you can start to understand the score of HP. They have a score of 72. How are they doing in remedy? How are they doing to commitment and governance? What is their traceability and risk assessment? What is their purchasing practices? What is recruitment? And how are they doing in worker voice? So in each of these areas, they've done a fair amount of work in trying to quantify a corporate's governance and how they've been doing on each of these factors. And their key findings for the sector is they've assigned a score of 16 for worker voice, 46 for traceability risk assessment, and 19 for recruitment. So this is a very quantified, a very detailed methodology for how you start to understand and rank companies. And what we're doing with this new anti-slavery financial product that we're launching is basically trying to take the top 5 companies in each of these sectors and creating a basket of investments as an initial step. And I've just submitted the first application for the first, investment into this fund. And so we are right now in the process of finalizing the corporate structure. It's going to be a joint venture between Ethic, Humanity United, and basically the GSN. The proceeds of this, any of the proceeds will go towards impact, towards addressing the pressing issues of our days, sustainability, and I'm about to wire the first check in to establish this. And the hope is this is a GSN incubated initiative. It's a GSN launched initiative. It's one of the first financial products in the history to basically combat modern day slavery. So now every one of this in this room and every institution we represent have now the ability and will soon have the ability to invest our values. And when we start to do that, when we get enough assets under management, we now are going to do something that the Humanity United can't do. We're going to have the ability to continue to fund this index, to continue to fund the research so that this index is live, living in the world, and once that's just the first step. Once we start to create a mechanism, a sustainability mechanism to make sure this index continues to exist, we then can start to explore the real leverage, which is a guy from, aside from ranking, naming, and shaming people, we can start to use the power of proxy votes. So when you have investors, we can start putting initiatives in each of these companies to force them to comply with these regulations. And I think this is one lever of many that are going to start to help to move the world. And when you start to think about finance as a lever, it's a huge leverage. There's $74 trillion in institutional capital. And if you can start with those, I think, impact-aligned, mission-aligned organizations, you can start to create a movement. And it's a movement that won't only be of institutions, but of individuals. And I think this is where the Church of England, the Vatican, each one of our networks and each one of our platforms, we can start to get people behind this, and it's a way now for all of us to invest our values. So this, I think, is illustrative of one of the initiatives that took place that didn't exist at the before the GSN, and it's now the GSN has launched. So very excited about this and happy to report on the progress.
It is so fantastic to see the actions already on the ground and the results coming out and the mood that everybody is in. After spending a year on talking about strategies, now everybody is talking about action and the next project and initiatives.